Hello, I am here today with Jonathan Zuck, the CCT chair, and Drew Bagley, the CCT independent expert, to share a little bit about the Competition, Consumer Trust, and Consumer Choice Review. Jonathan, I'll start off with you. Can you share a little bit about the purpose of the CCT review?
Sure, thanks a lot for asking. As its name implies, the purpose behind the review is to look at the new GTLD program and the impact that it's had on competition in the DNS between different registrars and registries, as well as the safeguards that we put in place to try and improve consumer trust and consumer choice to see if they had the impact that we hope that we'd have. Hopefully that our results will go into consideration of future expansion of the DNS and help us to do it better the next time.
Drew, can you share a little bit about where the review is in the process right now?
Yes, so we have made immense progress in analyzing several of the studies that we have commissioned to inform our research, and we're now at the point where we have released an entire draft report, received public comments for that draft report, and are incorporating them into our final recommendations, while at the same time putting out our remaining chapters for review and input by the community in the form of a draft addendum to our report. And so we can expect that that draft will be released in the next few weeks, and we anticipate that within the next couple of months we'll be finalizing our report.
Great. Jonathan, can you share a little bit about what the review focused on and some of the key findings?
Yeah, sure. I mean, there's been a lot of controversy around the expansion of the DNS. It took a long time for this new round of TLDs to come into place because there's a lot of people that were really concerned that there would be downside consequences to expanding the route as much as they did, and a lot of people that really were hopeful about the impact that it would have on competition and consumer choice. So at a very fundamental level, we were kind of asked to do a kind of cost-benefit analysis, if you will, of the new GTLD program to see kind of was it worth it. And so we've looked at a number of different areas. We looked at price competition, which is a little bit distorted by some of the price caps in the legacy TLDs, but we saw that there was competition in terms of market share, so that, for example, the new GTLDs are selling just as well as the legacy TLDs and the CCTLDs since the new program. So that's a really positive benefit for competition. There's obviously more choice because there's now 1,000 new TLDs that are out of the marketplace, a lot of flowers blooming, and people are starting to use them. So I think we're seeing an increase in consumer choice as well. But one of the things that we saw overall in our review was the unavailability of data, or the high cost of data, or the complexity of getting data, or the resistance to sharing data, et cetera. And so the ability to do a truly quantitative analysis of the competitive landscape was kind of stymied by the lack of data. So if we look at some of the recommendations, a whole group of them, a whole basket of them are devoted to the greater availability of data, and ICANN collecting more data along the way so that it's not something you're scrambling for at the point at which you're trying to commit a study or a review, but instead get ICANN in the habit of collecting more data, more granular data, so that these kinds of reviews can be better informed in the future.
Fantastic, thank you. Drew, can you share a little bit about some of the key recommendations that have come out of this review?
Sure. Thus far, our key recommendations seem to fit into three broad categories, the first of which is one that Jonathan alluded to a moment ago, dealing with a data-driven approach to policymaking within ICANN. And so many of our recommendations are targeted at specific types of data that should be collected continuously instead of only when a review occurs, such as data related to competition, as well as data that is related to consumer safeguards and even DNS abuse. Second, we also have many recommendations that are seeking to address what we perceive as the monoculture of the business models related to domain name registries, so that we can see more innovation in the ways in which TLDs exist in terms of the types of offerings that are available to consumers with regard to names, registration restrictions, and whatnot, but also further outreach into the global south to get those communities engaged more. And lastly, many of our recommendations are addressing what we perceive as policy gaps in consumer safeguards that really tie hand in hand with consumer trust. So for example, we are calling for a carrot and stick approach to DNS abuse so that we seek to provide more financial incentives for proactive anti-abuse measures, but also seek to empower ICANN compliance to be able to address systemic unabated abuse in the DNS.
Fantastic, thank you. Jonathan, can you leave us off with a little bit of information about next steps and perhaps how people can follow the progress of this review?
Sure. Well, there's a new wiki landing page, and that hopefully will be displayed on the screen below me right now, that people can go to follow what's going on with the CCT review team. But in terms of an update, in terms of where we are, we've received a bunch of public comments on the primary portion of our report, and we're just about to release an addendum to that draft report for additional public comments. And we'll then incorporate all those comments and hopefully deliver a report to the community by the end of the year.
Fantastic. Well, I thank you both for sharing and being here today, and appreciate it. Thank you.